Right, so hello everybody. It is evening, so good evening. Today is Tuesday, the 2nd of February, and now I'm saying this. This is actually the second time I want to say 2nd of March for some reason, but here we go. I thought I'd pop back here because it's interesting how we just had this conversation about the baby, or finding the voice of the baby, or having communication from a child or a baby who is either born or just been born. And then it's interesting because I have been thinking about having a little talk here, because sometimes in readings, this is quite fascinating actually, sometimes in readings the energy of an unborn child comes forward for the parents or for the family when they want to say something, or when they want to communicate something. And then it can happen either way, that the ones who are here on this earth plane, they are asking the question and they are inviting the soul, the spirit of that child, that unborn child, to come forward, because they want to make sure that the child, the soul, is fine, whether have moved on, or whether still around, he or she is still around, or whether there is any conversation, or how they are managing, what they are doing with the emotional bond, whether that child, the parents assume that the child might feel guilty in the sense that he or she was not able to be born. So there are all different questions from the parents and the family's point of view. And then there are times when the child who is not being born, the baby who is not being born, he is choosing the conversation to come forward and make his or her appearance and energy known to the family. And it's just absolutely fascinating and very humbling to have or to witness such conversation, or such the energy exchange. And my experience when I have these conversations is such that when a child who is not being born comes forward, I am not hearing their conversations. And when I'm feeling a child energy, and when I'm not hearing their conversation, like talk, like a conversation, on that frequency, then for me it means that the child was not being born. And now it feels that is a pattern, how spirit is showing those souls in a reading, that I'm aware that is a child, but the child was not being born because I'm not hearing the frequency, meaning that the child did not have the opportunity, his or her soul, to have the opportunity to experience itself in this living reality, in this earth plane. And that's why they can't show the voice, and that's why I'm not hearing the voice, because they did not have the chance to take the breath and then make a sound, what a human body would make, the first cry or the first breathing. So every time when I have a reading and then I'm not feeling the sound of the child, it means that the child was not born, because it did not have that experience. He or she did not have that experience. And the conversation, actually, yes, not just sometimes, but what happens is that, in fact, I never had a baby, an unborn baby, coming forward to a family giving a message or giving healing words, when the child was alone. It always feels that the child belongs to somebody else, and somebody else in the spirit world, a grandmother or somebody else, or somebody of an older generation, is looking after that child. And sometimes it happens that when we have a reading, so that the child is not alone. So even when he's in communication from his or her reality realm with the parents who are still here, or the family who is still here, there is a support of the energy of that the grandmother or somebody else around. Now there are options, or they're not the options, but then it sometimes happens that when we have a reading, and it feels like a normal reading, So it goes with the parents. I'm talking to a mother, talking to the father, and that is a grandmother energy, or maybe the father's mother is in spirit, and then the conversation is coming from that lady to the back to the family who is still here. Then they make me aware that there is, oh, I feel that there is a child, and then I feel that I feel that your mother is looking after a child, and because I'm not hearing, I'm not feeling the energy, and I'm feeling very very little weakness in my body that makes me feel that the child was not born. So that is the conversation there. And then just like when we do mediumship readings, oh, hello, there's somebody there. Thank you very much, first time viewer. Thank you very much for being here. I tell you what, I really, really appreciate you are here. I'm just talking about, KJ, I'm just talking about the experience we just had on the live show on Avana Psychic Radio and Moonstruck TV. I don't know whether you have watched it, but there was a caller, there was a conversation there, and it urged me to come here and talk about like general like experience, what happens when there is a young soul in spirit and then they want to come forward to give healing for the family, or the family is asking. So whatever way we take it, there is always a conversation coming forward. And my experience is that I don't hear the voice of the child primarily, or the first time when they present themselves, I'm not hearing the voice, not sensing them as a voice, as a human voice, because they did not have the physical reality, that experience. They did not make that sound. They didn't make that mark in this reality. But then it's interesting because sometimes, of course, yes, those who are in spirit world, they grow on, they get on with their lives, they do things. And then with adults sometimes, or you're like with those who've been born and had the earth experience, and then they are back to spirit, and then they tell us how they are getting on with their lives. So they are continuing learning. Since then they learn to ride the bicycle because they always wanted to learn the bicycle. So they have their own lives, And when with the babies, when we feel that there is a baby who is not being born and belonging to the family, the sensation is that sometimes they show themselves as when they are as if they have been born. So I know that would be a lovely 5-year-old little boy who would be blonde and who would have this kind of features and that kind of nature, like the various things. And then of course we cannot prove it, but I'm giving the information what the spirit energy is giving us. And what happens with those people who are listening to or receiving the conversation, they tune into that energy, and then they feel that actually, yes, his father is just like that, or actually how you are describing the child is just like how my husband was when he was 5, like a little boy with blonde and doing this and that, So it is a very, very delicate area of the work. And what happens is that very often when that soul needs to come forward or has to come forward for a mother who lost the baby, that it's not the first person who comes, the first energy who makes an appearance, but then somebody who is speaking. So in this way, from spirit world, we get the conversation going. So I have a grandmother here for you. So the grandmother is giving us a description of her life, what she did, and all different things, and gives some message to the sitter here, to the client here. And then when the energy is being built up, then the how they expand that, usually they bring somebody else saying, oh, by the way, your uncle is here, Uncle John is here, and then saying hello to the whatever is happening here. So the other family members come in as well. And then that is when I'm aware of a small child, and it feels like she was a girl, And I feel that every time when you are thinking about your grandmother is making you aware that little girl is around you, So that they are helping those who are in spirit world, who are able to communicate, and their link is stronger, much closer to the ones who live here, than they are able to bring and present to those ones who have not had the voice. And then just in a way that just making, letting us know that they are all well, and then they are all looking after each other. And then very often it happens with parents or family who lost a baby, or the baby was not born. that there is that healing taking place, knowing that yes, my grandmother is looking after my daughter. My grandmother is looking after my daughter, and then because the grandmother is giving me the links, I know, and then I feel that that little child is with her, and then I feel that little child is very much around me as well. So in this way, the healing is taking place, and then the family who is still here on earth plane is able to move forward. So that can be and it is a very, very tough time when people ask for healing or ask for reading, especially when there is an unborn child, unborn soul being involved, and then the energies, like what we were just experiencing in the other conversation, that they are making us aware that they are in the dream, so they could give us certain things. Sometimes it is a dream, or sometimes when you put that type of music on, or sometimes when you wear that red dress. Maybe that was the dress what she really enjoyed wearing, or she wanted to enjoy wearing when the child was born, or some reference, so that the child knows the reference, knows that has that understanding, and then in this way able to give information, and then giving that reassurance that actually, I'm very much around, and I know what you are talking about, even if I could not find my voice, And then very often, like in this conversation, even if the energy is very, very light and quite faint, sometimes they're quite strong, because the character of that spirit, of that soul, would have been a very character, the child who is really, really full of life, And some children are different, they experience themselves differently, and then when they come in spirit, it's the same energy, It is just the same as I'm talking to about a real child, or a child who is not being born. It is just the feeling their energies, and sometimes they remain in that space. And then maybe when the parents have a different reading, or the next reading, or maybe another family member comes forward in spirit and then continue the reading, and then maybe towards the end, a little bit later, the spirit energy, the child's energy is building up and able to come into the conversation. And sometimes what happens is that they really come forward, like we had this in this conversation, and then they start giving the energy, and start talking about what they experience and how they experience themselves around the mother. And then I was feeling that in this way, that his energy, I was feeling, I was a little boy, that his energy was quite like coming forward. So got the strength to come forward and start talking and giving reassurance to the parent. And when he was saying that, yes, I am in the dream, and then when the mother said, yes, I'm aware that child is in my dream. So it's not just, yes, one can say that just, I'm having a dream about this or that, but in fact what is happening is that we leave our body in our sleep. So that's the physical reality. We leave the body, but otherwise it is just otherwise we go, otherwise our soul goes. And that's why we are able to meet our ancestors, we are able to meet our spirit members of the spirit family, and then we come back. So but when it's time to wake up and coming back to our physical body, then we wake up. But then there is always that link, So it's quite interesting, because I meant to talk about it, and for some reason this conversation came up. So it's and sometimes it feels that those people who just lost the baby, or the baby was not born. Actually, these are mainly the children who were not, or the child who has not been born, not the ones who are born and made their voices. That's a different type of conversation, because when those ones come forward, even if they could not express themselves through vocabulary or through language, so the parents don't have that knowledge of what it would have felt like being able to converse with the child. But then when that soul gathers the energy and starts communicating, that even if they could not use language, but then through their senses, they already have had a reality or sense of this reality, and then they could use it, or they are using it as a point of reference to describe their relationship while they were here, maybe a couple of days, couple of weeks, maybe a year, or maybe 2 years, but still not very vocal, or maybe not talking much. They are able to have a conversation, and then it's a different conversation than having somebody who is not born, you know. And then sometimes it happens that parents they don't want to hear about that. They don't want to have a conversation, you know, or maybe there is some shame, or there is some any kind of conversation, especially if I'm talking to maybe somebody from an older generation, because maybe they experienced a child who was not being born, or the child who was not wanted, okay, or so something even took place, so the child was lost in that sense, and then the family does not want to talk about it, you know. But then still in the conversation, in the reading, it comes through. If that energy needs to come through, they come through. And what sometimes happens is that, yes, people take it, and then quietly, you know, they admit that is what was actually happening in the family, you know. And then from that point, there is healing, because the spirit, the baby is giving healing and words and encouragement to the family. So the family is moving on. So in that sense, there is a healing, like a huge sense of healing taking place. Imagine like 30, 40, maybe 50 or even 60 years later, they hear, they learn about something, and then they can finally move on in their lives, you know, with their lives. So it's quite like a releasing something in their energies, you know. So it's quite just absolutely beautiful. So sometimes there can be that, and sometimes it happens that families, they don't want to hear about it, you know. So whatever I give, whatever spirit gives, I mean, it's not I am giving, because I'm just giving what I sense. So whatever spirit gives, and the family is not taking, no, I can't take it, I can't take it, I can't take it. And then it could happen when this conversation is taking place maybe in a public conversation, when other people are listening, or maybe there is somebody with that grandmother or with that mother, and then there's somebody else, maybe the second husband or the third husband or something else, you know, somebody else is there, then she doesn't want to talk about, or he doesn't want to talk about, and then it's, you know, whatever we give, whatever spirit gives, it's not going to resonate. But then the truth is, we just give what we receive, you know. And then what happens that, you know, sometimes people get back with a message that, you know, thank you very much for your message, it made sense, but I just was not in a space to talk about it or acknowledge it, but it truly made sense, so thank you, you know. And it gives me healing, or gives me reassurance, and I'm sleeping better, you know, or anything like that. So you see, one tiny little conversation about a child who has not been born, but then the soul is very much around, you know. There are all the different varieties, you know. But then we just need to feel into it, and we just need to understand. And of course, it can happen to somebody else, you know, somebody else in our family, or you suddenly learn that you had a sister, an unborn sister, and then you know that you are not the oldest child. You always knew that you were the oldest child, and then in a reading, suddenly you learn that actually, no, I'm not the oldest, I've got a sister, and then she was a sister, and then my mother never wanted to talk about that, you know. So for some reason, I figured this one out, and then it's okay. So what kind of energy, or what are we receiving there? And it's quite beautiful, because those they are not babies. They are not babies. We know them as babies. But then those spirits, those souls, they are just like all the others. They are very much around, and they are around to give the healing, to give the guidance, to give the reassurance, you know. And sometimes they show up even if they were not born, or they were here for a couple of weeks or maybe a year. Sometimes they show themselves as a 15-year-old teenager, you know, if there is a reference to the earth plane, to another 15-year-old teenager, so that they are giving that information or healing or guidance or support to that 15-year-old who is here, and then maybe had a sister or unborn sister who would be 15-year-old, maybe the twin, or, you know. So it's all different varieties. But then the main sensation, and that is actually the only sensation, is that whether they are unborn babies or just babies who were here, but then in spirit world right now, or a grandmother or a father or a great grandmother in spirit world, they always come with healing, you know, and they come with upliftment. And then that they really, you know, the message is that they really want us to enjoy our life here. So the conversations are very much around that, and then they are inviting us to move on. So they give us the support. They reassure us that, if you need help, just ask me. I'm part of your team. I'm part of the team, so you can also call upon me. In fact, I've got a sister whom I did not know I had a sister. I don't know whether it was a sister or a brother, but my sensation was always that that is a sister. And then until the moment I figured out that actually that happened in my family. I did not know I had a sister. And then just from time to time in readings, that sister come on board, and then she's giving me guidance, or she's giving me a point of reference or something. So they're very much around us, And then it's only their soul. They needed to experience something, They were born here, or they did not make themselves born. They were not born. They just had to experience those couple of months without a physical body or physical voice. This is what they had to, this is what they signed up for, and that is what they had to experience, or they had to experience being born, being here, and then, okay, that's the reality, and then they go back, and then they have something else to do. And then, of course, it's sadness, it brings sadness, and all those, like, really massive sense of loss for families. Like really massive and very, very sad points there. But at the same time, when the healing is moving on and people move on and healing is taking place, the sensation is that there is this greater understanding why I had to experience that. For a mother, why I had to experience that I had a child and I wasn't being able to give birth to that child, why I had to experience this or that, or that awareness, that greater awareness, that why that child has chosen the reality of not wanting to be part of my life, not yes, chosen this family as a family. And then it was going well until 5 months, but then after that he decided not wanting to be here. And it is not just not wanting to be here, but this is what that soul has signed up for as a life experience. So there can be all kind of guilt and all kind of different things happening in the human conversation. But then when the healing is moving on, then when the parents move on, there is that awareness, that greater awareness that yes, I'm grateful that I could experience this and that, and even though it did not happen in a way that how I expected, but I acknowledge it and I accept it, and it had to happen in this way, and then I'm moving on with my life. And then when the parents choose to have another baby, and then a baby is born healthily, of course, the one who has not been born is helping the one throughout the next one, so that the child is healthy and then being able to find its own voice in this reality. So it's we are moving on in this way. I know it's very, very sad conversation, and then might resonate with a lot of people, and then from the spiritual realm we just need to remember that they are here with healing, and then just want to let everybody know that they are very much around, and then even those people who feel that, I don't want to face that conversation or anything like that. That is part of the journey, and just always, what Spirit is always saying, they are very much around us, and very much around to help people to move on, because that's why they are there. They want us to enjoy our lives, enjoy the human life, feeling our own spirit and feeling inspired and feeling the joy and feeling the happiness and feeling the joy, being alive, And then what we consider as loss is part of our human experience, And maybe some of us need to experience it is a little bit harsher experience, Some of us learn it, and we learn to move forward, and that is our individual journey, So it's a very, very big conversation, but then it just spurred from the moment when we had this call on the live show, that actually this is how things are happening, or the understanding or the reality of the spirit energies, and then this is how we are moving on. It's quite interesting. My voice is going a little bit here, which is which is quite just one of those things, but So I hope you found it interesting, maybe, or reassuring. It's always coming from love. And then, just like I always say, when you follow this page, that when there is a moment that we have to talk about something, then there is something which needs to come forward. That we need to share. We need to talk about that. And then I always say, if you feel that there is somebody who might benefit from a conversation like this, please feel free to share and invite people, because that is the idea that whatever conversation is taking place here, it is for the benefit of all of us, so that one way or another everybody is learning, everybody is receiving something, And then sometimes we go through different phases and stages in our lives. Sometimes we need a little bit more healing. Sometimes we are the ones who are lighting up the light for the others, Sometimes we need somebody to light hold the torch in front of us, But then it's that's we are everybody's experience is just the same, So that's why we are having this conversation here. So I can see a few of you here, and you are writing here, you lovely people. I want to acknowledge you, I've got Kami here. Thank you very much. You are saying this is my first time watching your channel. Thank you very much. I tell you what, thank you very much for being here. Lovely. Eliana. When there is a question about feeling negative spirits around you or in your home, you just when something like this comes up. Right now I'm not going to tune into your energy, but then just generally speaking, okay. Generally speaking, when I sense something, okay. Okay, I'll give you an example, and let's see what is going to resonate with you. That in my own home, I know the frequency, I know those energies who are around me, and I'm working with them, and I know the energy. And then when somebody comes into my home, even if it's just one person, and then without the person knowing what kind of energies he or she has, but then those energies are around the person. So even when the person leaves my home, or people, they leave my home, that those energies are around, they are hanging around, they can hang around, sometimes they go, sometimes they hang around, and the only reason is because we are light workers, and then they find people they want to communicate, and then sometimes the people who turn up on our doorstep, who might visit us, sometimes they feel their own energies, they feel that energy, and sometimes they don't feel it, they are not tuned into, or they don't want to hear about, or anything like that. But it doesn't matter, because wherever they go, that frequency is with them, and when they find a light worker, somebody who's tuned into things, then they are attaching themselves because they want to have the conversation, they want to be acknowledged. And then sometimes it happens that my feeling of the energy around is a little bit funny, and then I know that something is happening. So I just, I always say to spirit, that when those energies are around, they are coming to us because we can be maybe physically, emotionally tired, and then our energy, our frequency is lower a little bit, So we first of all we need to work on ourselves. But when we feel something is a little bit odd in a place, like suddenly it's a bit odd. It wasn't like this for weeks, but then suddenly somebody just left, or the energy is around. Then I immediately clean. I have to clean, like physically cleaning my environment. I also use sage. So from the top of my house, I sage everything. Okay, everything. I go to the front door and I go to the back, and then I'm working with the energies. And in each room, I am actually saying a prayer, And then how I work, I draw a cross in the air, And I'm asking the blessing for the house. But before I do that, in the room where I'm feeling the energy is not really, it's a bit odd. Then I know it's somebody else's energy, not belonging to my place and myself. Then I'm saying that, okay, I know you are here. This is my home. This is my house. I know you are here. There is probably a reason why you are here, but I don't want to. I'm not communicating with you, and I'm asking you to leave. I'm asking you to leave. That's my door. That's my window. Okay, and I'm asking you to go back to the light. Go and find the light. Go and find the light. Go and find the light. And I'm also saying a prayer. I'm drawing cross in the air. And then I'm going with my smudging and cleaning the space. So this is what I normally do. And then actually usually for me, I never had anything unsuccessful, when I'm doing this. Sometimes somebody's energy can be really, really harsh, really harsh. So actually I'm feeling that spirit energy, so I can describe, and sometimes it's in a different from a different historical time, it's all kind of different things, but then I'm able to describe it. And sometimes the energy is really intense, really heavy, and what I'm feeling, that suddenly I feel physically in my physical body, I'm feeling shivering, like really suddenly I go very, very, very cold, and I'm feeling really, really heavy with that energy. And then I know that's not my own natural thing, or if I'm a little bit off, then I know it's my off. But when that kind of thing is happening, then I'm really, really suddenly very, very like ice. I'm feeling like ice. Okay, that's so very, very cold. Then because I'm feeling the intensity and the harshness of the energy. Then in the way I'm saying that is my door, that is my window. I want you to out of my place. You don't belong here. For some reason you are here. I'm not going to talk to you. Thank you for visiting me, and I want you to leave my home. And then I'm just literally opening doors and windows. And then I'm asking the spirit, go back to your light. Go find the light. Go and find the light. And I'm sending prayers and I'm sending light. I'm using Reiki energy. I'm using symbols. I'm using all whatever is coming. Or I'm asking. Sometimes I work with Michael's energy. It's like I'm asking, okay, Michael, I need help with this one because I want this energy immediately out of my space. And then I say, I do not know many prayers, but you can use your own prayer. What is working for you. But I say a prayer, and then I draw a cross, a huge cross in the room. And if the energy is very, very heavy, then I draw it. I draw it in the air for I think 7 times I do. But I always go with what I'm feeling in the very moment, And then I clean the space, and after that it is cool. It is gone, I never had any of those things coming back, So, and then also you see, sometimes it happens when we move into a building, we move into a house, and we are very, very happy, and then suddenly, like after a day or two, we just feel the heaviness, and then we know it is not our heaviness, because we just moved into a new place, So we should be feeling joyful. We should be able to sleep well, and all kind of things. But then things are not moving that way, and then that is when the house, the actual brickwork, the house is able to hold the energy of the people who lived there, and that's another conversation. I'm just thinking of. I think I had an occasion. I think twice. I visited twice intentionally. I knew about that, but then there were other occasions. When you go to a historical building, which is a museum, and then all these noble people used to live there, and then that somebody was hanged there, and then when you are walking up the wall on the side, and then you just suddenly have the feeling of that sense. So it's either to do with how the building is able to hold that energy. It's like brick that cemented in the building, in that sense, and then that's then the people call those people who really clean the energy. But I never had that experience in this way. I am of course aware if I go to somebody's house, and I'm aware of, by the way, I'm feeling a grandfather energy, or this energy or that energy. It's either belonging to the family who's living there, or belonging to somebody who lived there before. And then that's another conversation how we are looking into finding out who lived there before. So it's like all different topic. There's like a big conversation there. But then going back to your question, the negative spirits, it's and then when I'm doing massage, when I ask the spirit to go to the light, and I'm praying, and I go in every single room, I massage it, and then I ask that energy outside and in the garden, at the front and at the back, and then I put little scents outside as well, at the front and at the back. I do that, and then. What else do I do? Yeah, and I do massaging around my body. It's like I put it there and I'm standing on it, so I'm feeling the fume is coming. So I have to have that in my own, around my own physical body. So it's definitely, and then sometimes, sometimes you can use like musical instruments, or clicking or clapping, or sometimes we just need to push a few furniture around. We definitely have to declutter, declutter, because then the tired energy gets stuck there. Now it's another this is a huge conversation. But then, for instance, how we have, sometimes we tend to have boxes and things under our bed, and yes, unpacking things on the bed because that's a good space to hold things. But in fact, I would rather have the air moving. It's free moving. I usually put a crystal under my bed, so under the bed I am sleeping in, that bed, there is nothing underneath. So it just, one can look into how we can help ourselves, certain plants, or tuning, if you are working with crystals, tuning into your, programming your crystal, programming your crystal, and while you are working, you put it next to your desk or wherever you are working, putting it in your pocket, and then since you put an intention into that crystal, then that is going to work with you. There was a time when I used tiger eye, I was holding it, I was wearing it as a necklace, tiger eye, a huge tiger eye, and then it's really, we can give you, there can be different ideas, what to do or how to do things. It is, everybody needs to find their own way, what is really working with you, and then work with that. There was one time when I was, I don't want to work with crystals, but then it's more recently it's coming back, and then now my attention is on something else, how I want to use I'm interested in the geometry of crystals, so that can help. How, in what way can we use that? But it's everyone's individual journey, because we go through stages, how we perceive things, how we allow things, the energies around us, or how we are perceiving it, or how we are allowing that energy to impact our life, And if you feel that there is a negative energy, negative spirit, my first thing is, okay, from the top of the place, wherever you feel in the room where you feel that energy, you just have to tell the spirit, because then, if you watch the story, that's why I really like Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. If you watch it, exactly, that is how the sensation is when the lost spirits are around. They are just hovering. They don't know they are around. They don't know. No, they know they are around. They just don't know. They don't have a physical body. They feel. They think. Honestly, they think that they are here. They are part of this life. And then because they do that, they have not reached the point of the passing. They need to go to the light. For some reason, they are attaching themselves to this reality, and actually, they can turn up anywhere. They can turn up anywhere. Now, when we are conscious, like when we are continuously catching that energy, that actually, what, that is a lost spirit just hanging around. And then I'm going somewhere else and I'm feeling, I can describe and everything. And it's just so very real, and I know it's there. That what happens is that we are going around in daylight, nighttime, we are going around with that awareness, with a spiritual interest and awareness. And sometimes what happens is at the beginning of our spiritual development or psychic development, that's a huge conversation. At the beginning of our psychic development, that we are going around continuously thinking about, I'm going to buy another pack of cards, or visit a coincidence I just experienced. So we are going around everywhere with all our centers open, all our vibes open, available. And then when we are in a shopping center, or when we are at a station, or wherever we are in a workplace, we can be anywhere, when there are more than one or two people, then we sense the energy belonging to the other person. And then it's first, I'm sensing from my center to your center, but at the same time, if I'm very, very open, then I'm sensing all the other energies belonging to that person, And then when there are these lost souls hanging around, they are coming to the person who is, I'm interested, I'm fully switched on, I just want to talk about spiritual things all the time, And then when it happens, then I'm not protecting my own energy, okay? It means that my awareness is on spiritual work 24/7, okay? And when I'm not closing it down, then it means that any kind of energy can come to me. And by the time you finish your shopping, by the time you finish your trip, whatever you do, you know, your energy, your personal energy, you are completely drained, and then you suddenly you don't know why you are drained, you know. And then if it continues, and if you don't know, if you don't do anything about that, then it means that physically it can have an impact on you, you know. It can have an impact on you. And when we feel something on a physical level, it means that that's the light goes on, you know, the bulb goes on, because that's like a call, like not a lost call, but it's definitely a call that, oh, I need to be aware something is happening, you know. Like we said, using the body as a compass. And then while I'm saying this, because it happened to me, literally, for years, especially when I lived in London, very, very busy environment, I could have a Victorian child on the underground, London Underground, you know. I could have two maiden in Windsor when I lived in Windsor. Of course, they were around the castle there. They just hang around in my home, and they ask me where they need to go. And then I remember turning my head up and back and then saying, you know what, I don't know where you need to know where you need to go to, you know. So they are coming, and actually that is the other thing. When they start talking, they are asking for guidance. They're asking, most of the time, they're asking, where do I need to go, you know, whether they are by themselves, whether they are with somebody else, or when they are bringing their own family. I had, I think, a 1930s or 40s family once turned up. Where do we need to go? I said, well, I don't know. I was really scared because my physical body was really feeling that frequency. And then it's good. I had to experience it, and then I learned to manage it, and I don't have that kind of thing. The only thing is if I'm in an environment and or somebody comes into my home, and then somebody hangs around, and then since I know the energy, then I'm able to distinguish between the energy I know and then the energy I don't know, and then I know what to do with it. And then when I'm doing it, then things are cleared, and I never had that I had to do it twice. Okay, so it is just we just need to be aware. If you feel that you know you are, well, since we are having a conversation, you are tuned in as well. If you are like very spiritual or interested in spiritual things or psychic things and things like that, your mind is on it all the time. Then we just have to have the discipline that, okay, now I am thinking about this, and then I'm switching like a light bulb, you know, it's on and off, switch it off. And then I'm putting my consciousness, my awareness onto real life. And when I'm living my real life, I'm not thinking about my psychic work. I'm not thinking about spiritual work, you know. So that is the one of the, like a mini challenge when we work spiritually, to have that balance and find that balance, you know. And then when we do that, okay, now I'm not working that way because I'm living my own life, you know. I don't want anybody hanging around in my home, not even my own ones, my own family members wanting to communicate. No, I'm switching it off because that's my physical reality, and I need to sleep. Come back tomorrow. Or watch me sleep well, or give me some guidance throughout my sleep, or anything, or my dream, you know. But then we have to be very clear, and then once we say to spirit, this is how I'm not working, but I'm working in this way, I'm willing to work with you in this way, then they learn, and then they're not going to hang around, and then they're not going to distract you or disturb, you know. And in this way that you are, when you say that, then you live your life, it's clear, it's easy, it's clear, and it's just like with any human person, we have to have clarity and boundaries. And then the same, setting up the boundaries with them is the same, you know. The only difference is that they think they are in the physical reality, but then they don't have the physical reality, the physical body, you know. But otherwise they give us information of what they are, what they want me to cook, or all kind of different things, you know. So they know the reality. It is just we just have to send them back to the light, you know. Now, if you have those ones who, like I have my own family members, you know, and they are very tuned in, then they are welcome. So if because that is my work, so that spirituality is very much around me, that conversation is very much around me. I'm welcome their guidance, and I work with them. But when I go for a walk, or when I sit in my car, then before I switch the engine, and I'm saying, you know what, guys, now I'm driving my car, and I'm reminding myself now I'm driving my car, and it means I'm not thinking, I'm not even thinking about any spiritual thing, because now I'm driving my car, or when I'm going for a walk, because I want to switch off from the spiritual work. It means now I am walking. Now I'm intentionally putting my focus on my senses because I want to feel my own physical reality. That's why I'm here. That's why I've got a physical body, because I need to experience myself in my physical reality, And when it is time to move back to the spiritual work, then we move, so that it's like there and back, there and back. But it is us. You need to tell them what we want and what we don't want, what are our boundaries, what are our working hours, so to speak, So this is what I can say. Yeah. Now, when you are asking, when you are asking personal question, sometimes I do live readings here, and then sometimes I do on Sundays, So it's like all different things. So if you feel that yes, I have a question, but maybe I don't want to commit for a full reading or something like that, find me there, come back to this page, It's like, because sometimes I just give a sign, I'm going live and doing live readings, That's the time to come back. And then if you feel that you want to have like a proper conversation, like a one-to-one reading, then feel free to book or ask question about that, So that there are different options. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. Sure. Yes. I tell you what the experience is that quite a lot of people have chosen this time or the end of last year or the end of the year before to pass, to exit. A lot of people. Yeah. So right now, guys, I'm not going to tune in with individual conversations, if it's okay with you. When there is a live going, please feel free to come back. Feel free to come back. Okay, so right now, personal conversations we are not doing. Okay, I'm going to bring this conversation actually to the close. I just want to acknowledge everybody here. Love and light to you as well. Now, okay, now sometimes actually I need to tell you, actually I'm going to put a different post out. If somebody is asking you to message them personally for a reading, then it's not for me. That person should not be, and I'm going to ban the person, okay, once I'm off this line. Okay, so if you are sending anything like that, please make sure if you are here for Zsuzsanna Medium page, okay, you are here for having the conversation with me or with Spirit on my team, So if somebody is, while we are having a conversation, texting you, offering reading, just ignore and block the person and report the person to Facebook, because I'm going to do the same with you guys, whoever is there, because I can see there is somebody there. Okay. Okay. Now, my lovely ones. Okay, we are going to we are going to bring it to the closure. I'm going to make a cup of tea, and I'm going to go back to listen to the show earlier because I'm taking it as a learning experience, But then this was actually it felt quite important to be here and come a little chat. I tell you what, there is a lot of conversation happening here. A lot of you are asking one-on-one question, give me a card or give me a thingy. I've got cards here, but I'm going to bring it to a closure, okay? Going to bring it to a closure. Feel free to come back if you want to have like a reading, When I do live readings, if you go back and listen to other conversations here, usually they are just quite short, like chop. So obviously, because it's a public conversation, I can't go in great details here. Now, if you want to have, you can find me how you can book a session with me, In fact, probably I will put out some offer as well, Or find me on Friday, this Friday coming, 5th of February, 2:30 p.m. EST and 7:30 in the evening in the UK here, If anybody wants to be on a Zoom call with me, it's like a private little group, Not many people because I want to give message, and it's only £8, £8. So it's a generous thing, And it comes as a first come, first served, really, because I don't want to, it's not for 50 people all together, but it's going to be a smaller group, so I can see everybody on my screen. So here we go. Thank you very much for your messages here. I really appreciate you guys being here and asking questions, because I think that's why, not I think, but I feel that is how we need to have a conversation going, So that's a community here. Okay. So I really thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I'm sending you a lot of love, lots of love, many, many blessings. And before you go back to your reality, when you have any, that is actually a perfect opportunity. When you have a conversation like this, just remember, now this was one conversation. I am breathing, I'm looking around in my room, shaking myself, being back in this reality, And then it's really your choice if you continue thinking about spiritually or psychically during the night or during the day, wherever you are right now. But just remember, I switch on, switch on, like my light. Switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off. This is actually switch off, because I'm going to close the conversation. So thank you very much for being here, and speak very, very soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. Good night. Bye.